It is 1 o'clock, and I will call this meeting to order. Lori, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lori. I will note that all 7 commissioners are here, and I will open this meeting for public comment. Public comment is limited to matters over which the Planning Commission has jurisdiction. We want to encourage respectful consideration of all views by members of the public. If content is disruptive, disrespectful, irrelevant, or offensive, the individual will be asked to stop speaking. Public comment will also be taken on agenda items that are identified for possible action, and we will have closing public comment. I will now open public comment, and speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. Please sign the roster, which is under the microphone, and say your name for the record into the microphone. First speaker, please. Seeing no one rise, I will close public comment. And I will ask for approval of the agenda. Are there any comments?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Moved by Bryce, seconded by Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a motion, unanimous. And we will move for approval of the minutes. I must say they were excellent as always. Does anyone have any corrections? Seeing
Madam
none?
Chair, I move to approve the minutes.
You beat me.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Bryce, second by Lori. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous as well. Thank you. Moving to our first public hearing and only public hearing for possible action. Discussion on special use permit SUP DP 25-0079. A request to expand the Mormon Station State Historic Park's boundary to include the historic Kinsey House. The project is located at 196 Genoa Lane in the SFR-1 single-family residential, 1-acre minimum parcel size zoning district in the town of Genoa, APN number 1319-09-710-003. The applicant/owner is Gavin Cackle. Excuse me. The Conservation Fund. Presenting is Lucille Rayo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Lucille Rayo, Senior Planner. Today's request has the support of staff and the town of Genoa. The zoning of the parcel will remain as single-family residential, and there are no requests at this time to change the zoning, although changing the zoning to public facilities to match the existing zoning on the existing Mormon Station parcel could be considered during the master plan update. The HOA is in support of this project. They are removing the parcel from their CC&Rs and in lieu are adding 2 deed restrictions. In reviewing the trip generation report and discussing the parking and visitor count with the applicant, it was determined that the existing parking will suffice. The applicant does not believe the addition of the historic home to the park will draw large amounts of visitors. Parking for use of community significance is determined through the special use permit. We've not received any public comment on this item. Staff is in support of the addition of this historic home to the Mormon Station. Findings can be found on packet page 26, and the conditions of approval begin on packet page 28. At this time, I would like to turn today's presentation over to Gavin Cackle with the Conservation Fund.
One moment, Paul. Cackle. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to disclose to the panel and to the public that my father-in-law has lived in Genoa and Genoa Lakes for the last 29 years. And when I take him to that little church that's the only church in Genoa, I sometimes get an earful because he has told people that I am on the Planning Commission. And this one is the same as always. So it does not affect my decision or my thinking in any way, but I am aware that there are a lot of people that support the historical nature of Genoa. That is the most polite way I can say it.
Thank you, Paul. Gavin?
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this presentation today, and thank you to the planning staff for fielding all my questions over the last several months, putting this special use permit together, and to the HOA, and as well as Nevada State Parks. Today, the request is for a special use permit for use of community significance, which, according to the county, means a use which the commission determines to have significant historic, cultural, economic, social, or environmental value to the county, which does not conform to the use regulations of the district in which the use is located as a result of either the adoption or amendment of this code, and either which cannot be made conforming through any other discretionary review process under this code. So a little bit about the property. This site is adjacent to Mormon Station State Historic Park. It's a 2,862 square feet brick house built in 1856 by Stephen Kinsey and Sarah Kinsey, and a portion of the old orchard still exists in the backside as well as a little bit in the front. Stephen was the nephew of John Reese, founder of the 1851 Mormon Station Trading Post. And throughout the years, the property was an integral part of social life in Genoa in the 19th and early 20th centuries in particular. The property has hosted parties and numerous community events over time. And the Nevada Division of State Parks desires to acquire the property to expand it into the neighboring state park. The last day of 2024, the Conservation Fund acquired the property, and we are working closely with Nevada State Parks to transfer the property to them after we obtain the special use permit, and we remove the property from the Homeowners Association. Funding for this is coming from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, stateside funding, and from the Nevada Conservation and Recreation Fund. Both sources require a deed restriction to be recorded, which will prevent future non-compatible uses, such as selling to a private developer for commercial use. Here you can see a map of the property. Notice that there are walking trails that are adjoining Mormon Station State Historic Park next door. Visitors will continue to utilize existing parking stalls both on the south side of Genoa as well as the main road to the west. Having trouble seeing it. Foothill Road Jacks? Oh, Jacks Valley Drive. I apologize. Anyway, they will continue to use the existing parking, and according to a trip study, we didn't find any additional problems with trip counts in the area. So we're confident that the parking that's there should cover the needs of the park. The caretaker unit is going to be renovated to serve as a park office / ranger station, and there will be a small area next to that caretaker unit where the park ranger can park. And there will not be any additional access from the streets of the neighboring residential neighborhood. Particularly to the north of this property, there is residential neighborhood. There won't be any access coming from there. Nevada Division of State Parks intends to preserve existing trees and add new ones where appropriate. They will add picnic tables, trash receptacles, and educational signage. The hours of operation will mirror the existing park and generally be for day use only. The exterior and interior will be maintained to ensure the house is historically accurate and aesthetically pleasing. And here we have some concept renderings that came from Nevada State Parks. As you can see, there's some walking trails, some signage, the trees that are there, and the lawn is well taken care of. There's some picnic tables. And then this is showing the entryway from the Mormon Station State Park going into the Kinsey House. Again, we're trying to work with the parks so that visitors can enter and get a chronological order, first starting off with the Mormon fort itself, before proceeding to a more residential 18th to 19th century house. So moving forward here, perimeter fencing will be installed to prevent trespass into the adjacent neighborhood. The fencing will shield neighbors to ensure privacy. According to the trip generation report, the property is not expected to have any significant impact on local traffic operations or on local roadways or intersections. And that's it. So happy to field any questions you guys might have, and I appreciate your time.
I would like to say, wonderful packet. Thank you very, very much. It was very thorough.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Let's see, Jim, were you first?
So is a plan for tours of the house eventually, or?
Yes, it's my understanding that Nevada Division of State Parks plans to have some limited touring of the house. That will not occur while the Conservation Fund owns the property.
Frankly, I just love this. Preserving the oldest homes we have in the county, to me, is incredibly good idea. And being adjacent to the state park and part of the state park, I think, is fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan?
Excellent package. I couldn't think of hardly any questions to ask you. Good job. So you answered the question that the state already has the funding to purchase the property. You may not know the answer, but is state parks funded in the current budget for the improvements that would be required, such as connecting to public sewer and public water, and some of the other on-site improvements that you've spoke to?
Chris, feel free to jump in if I'm off here, but it's my understanding that Nevada State Parks does not have all the funding for every improvement to occur on the property at this time. So I think it's going to, first they'll take on the property, and slowly as the funding comes through, they will do the improvements.
So based on that, we won't be expecting it'll be open to public right away?
Yeah.
Chris, you have something to say?
Yep.
Hey, I'm Chris Johnson. I'm a Park and Recreation Program Manager with Nevada State Parks. Been working with Gavin on this project, and prior to this position, I was also the Park Ranger at Mormon Station in Genoa for about 5 years, so this is something that's certainly near and dear to my heart. To answer your question, so the grant funding we got does have beyond the acquisition of the property, does have some extra in it for initial development of the grounds to make it suitable for public access. One of the grant funding sources we're using for this, Land and Water Conservation Fund, has a caveat that the property must be publicly accessible within 3 years of purchase. So that's what we're aiming to do. Restoring the house, so it'll be our long-term goal is to have that open as kind of a historic house museum, as Gavin mentioned. That's obviously going to be a little bit of a later project, but our initial phase is to basically beautify the property, have it really harken back to its glory days, and have walking trails, educational signage, some picnic tables in the trees, or some picnic tables under the trees. In the trees would be kind of an interesting element. But just another place people would come and enjoy and really learn the history of our valley and our state. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you very much. There are no other questions. I would like to open public comment. Lori?
Could you explain the status of the homeowners association? How's that removal process coming?
I believe it's going pretty great. We have a executed agreement with identified terms for the removal. One of those terms is the special use permit. We've negotiated quite a bit and fielded many of the concerns of the property owners.
Kirk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lucille or Gavin, on page 46 of our packet, we have the minutes of the meeting of the town of Genoa, where this was approved by them. But I'd just like a little bit of a clarification, and I'm not sure who wants to address this. I think it seems like we have 5 different parties that are involved in this whole process. And I think everybody should be on the same page, but I just want to make sure there's no confusion or when we go to dot the i's and cross the t's. So we have the Conservation Fund that owns the property currently. And then the Conservation Fund expects to have the Nevada State Parks become the owner at some point. Is that, I'm correct on that?
Nevada State Lands.
Nevada State Lands.
Right.
Okay. State of Nevada, basically, right? But then we've also got the county, which is going to be, through our action, potentially approving a special use permit. And then we have, as it says on page 46 in the last paragraph that's highlighted, there was an agreement in the motion that was made that any modifications to the exterior of the building and/or property must be approved by the Town of Genoa Advisory Board, in addition to the Genoa Historic Districts Commission approval of a certificate of appropriateness. So those two bodies either do have now or will have in the future jurisdiction over the property and what happens to it. Am I correct on that, Lucille or Gavin?
That's my understanding. So any kind of major improvements to the property, even, in my understanding, even if you change the color of the paint, there's still some involvement.
AJ?
AJ Haynes from the District Attorney's Office. The Genoa Historic District Commission only has oversight of parcels that are not zoned residential. So this is still going to be a residentially zoned parcel. That's why they need the special use permit. So the Historic District Commission would not have any oversight over this structure. And I don't know that I think because the town is already serving as an advisory body, they were advisory to this permit. I think it would be okay to condition the special use permit on further review by the town. However, I don't think that this commission has the authority to sort of expand the reach of the Historic District Commission. If the property is ever rezoned, then automatically they would have they would have to review any changes to the exterior of the structure. But until it's rezoned, they don't have jurisdiction, and I don't think that this board can give them jurisdiction by way of a condition. So I would recommend that when you do put forward a motion, that you take that into account. If you want to approve the special use permit, I would do it subject to the conditions in the staff report, which incorporate the conditions of the town. So then I would say, subject to the conditions in the staff report, with the exception of the town's recommendation of Historic District Commission oversight. So I would just make that one exception, because I don't think that that is, I don't think that the commission has authority to do that.
Thank you, AJ, because I believe I heard Lucille, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that this could be rezoned potentially when we revise the master plan, and then we would zone that as public facilities. Am I correct there? If that would be the appropriate zoning for a property of this nature?
For the record, Lucille Rayo, yes, that's what I'm suggesting. Certainly, as the owners, we would have to discuss it with them, but I think it would only make sense. That's why I was mentioning it to the Planning Commission, as keepers of the master plan.
Thank you. I think it's always very important to look toward the future and make sure we don't do anything that would conflict with what the existing situation is and what might happen in the future. So I appreciate your bringing that to our attention. AJ, I think your points are very relevant, but I agree with my colleagues that this is a very enjoyable process that we're following, and look forward to its conclusion. Thank you.
There's nothing else, Paul?
One question briefly. If, in fact, we are successful in turning the building into an interpretive center in accordance with the letter that you have written to the Planning Commission, does that affect, or is that encompassed by the special use permit, or at that time must we consider a different type of zoning other than residential?
For the record, Lucille Rayo, the zoning would not change. That's what the special use permit is for, to allow this to happen in a residential zoning district. And just as a sidebar, if we were doing the zone change for the master plan and the zone change for public facility, they would still need a special use permit according to code.
Now? Okay. Like to open public comment? Thank you, Gavin.
For sure. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dan Ainsworth. Want to say first hi to Chris again. I did a lot of stuff with Chris Johnson over the years, as you know, probably know that I'm a Genoa guy, so to speak, live in Genoa Lakes and do a lot of stuff in Genoa, so Chris and I got to know each other really well. I'm 110% in favor of this project. I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the park. It's an unbelievably historic building, as you know from the packet material. The only reason I came today was to ask for some clarification on the topic you just discussed. You may have seen me talk to AJ and some others here to put some feelers out, and I had talked to Kirk also, in full disclosure. I don't think the Genoa Historic District Commission has any authority at all over this property. Their cognizance is just over commercial or commercial residential properties in Genoa. So I'm glad you clarified that for the board, AJ, thank you. But I'm not quite sure why the town would have cognizance over it in the future. It's a residential piece of property. I'm not sure that they have cognizance over residential properties now, so why would they in the future? So I would just add that as a ask for a continuing investigation into that particular topic, and that's really all I have to say. I'm sure you're going to approve this. It's going to be a great addition to Genoa's Mormon Station State Historic Park. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Next speaker. Seeing none, I will close public comment. AJ, will you clarify?
Thank you, Madam Chair. AJ Hames for the record. Yes, since this is a special use permit that goes before the town board, and you can condition a special use permit however needed in order for it to comply with all of the findings. And so I think if the town board felt it was necessary that in order to comply with the findings, that any exterior changes go back to the town board for review, I think that that's an appropriate condition for you to also impose because it is a special use permit. So you're not conditioning a residential property's residential use, you're conditioning a special use of that property. And so I think it's a reasonable condition, especially since it was recommended by the town board. The difference between that and the Genoa Historic District Commission is that the authority of the Historic District Commission is much more limited. They were not involved in the special use approval process, so I would not include that aspect of the recommended condition.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from Planning Commission? Paul.
One comment. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I know that our commissioners have taken a close look at this special use permit application when we have on page 26C the consideration that it will not generate pedestrian or vehicular traffic which will be hazardous or conflict with existing and anticipated traffic in the neighborhood. The applicant's response was that it was not going to not anticipated to generate additional visitation to Mormon Station or that area. I would like to state that I hope it does increase traffic in that area, particularly become the interpretive center as part of this park, become a very attractive aspect. Now, that said, I don't think that the parking will become hazardous or conflict, and therefore I think it still satisfies that requirement because very seldom have I seen, from personal experience, Genoa Lane's parking completely used up past the residential zone in combination with and at the same time that Jacks Valley Road at the end is completely filled. So I just think that the increase, which I'm hopeful in terms of traffic, I think still satisfies the requirement of C on page 26.
Thank you, Paul. Any other comments? Kirk, you're busy writing there. Are you writing a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have crafted a few sentences or clauses to the recommended motion, but I can either run those by AJ now or make a motion at the appropriate time and then go from there.
I don't think we closed public hearing, did we? Okay.
whatever the pleasure of the group is, I can either toss out this language and have AJ react to it, or I can just make the motion.
I would toss it out, have AJ listen to it
Great.
before we vote on it.
Thank you. I think the recommended motion would be to approve, based on the discussion of the staff report, recommended conditions of approval. This is from the language on page 18. And then perhaps AJ add, and giving the town of Genoa authority to exercise proper oversight, and then say, with the exception of the language in the conditions of approval, giving review to the Genoa Historic District Commission.
AJ Hames for the record. I think that's clear enough based on our discussion as well. I think that's fine.
A little garbled as usual, but thank you for your blessing.
Yeah, it seems a little wordy, but if you can spit it all out and we understand it, go ahead and give it a try.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of DP 25-0079, a request for a special use permit to expand the Mormon Station State Historical Park's boundary to include the historic Kinsley House based on the discussions in the staff report and the recommended conditions of approval, and giving the town of Genoa authority to exercise proper oversight, with the exception of the language in the condition, the language giving review to the Genoa Historic District Commission.
Do we have a second?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
We have a motion by Kirk, a second by Paul. Is there discussion?
I am completely in support of this, but I would ask that if it's going to be a month or two before the transfer between the existing owner and the state parks, that someone go out there and with a mower and get those weeds knocked down. They look a little high. So if we could spend some time bringing that property so it does not appear to be so much of a fire hazard to the neighborhood, I think that would be beneficial to Genoa.
Did I hear the last clause here, and the ability to make the required findings as part of the motion?
I did not say that. I omitted that after the language, so I can amend my motion to say the ability to make the required findings.
And the second agrees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, an amended motion, and a second. We have a main motion and a second. Do I have a vote on both? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Both motions passed unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you for your presentation. I will now open closing public comment. Seeing no one rise, I will close closing public comment. And I would like to I want to thank everybody for being here. And I would like to make just a closing comment. I was asked a question by a planning commissioner about presentation of plans commissioned by the Board of Commissioners. And I want to say if any planning commissioner or anybody, a member of the public for that matter, if you're interested in anything that's been commissioned by the Board of Commissioners that will be coming up for presentation, you can find that information by following Peak and check their agendas when they come forward, or you can sign up on the county website, the county manager's office, for a notification for the agendas to come to your email. However, it is not appropriate for the Planning Commission to receive presentations for anything that has been commissioned by the Board of Commissioners for the Board of Commissioners, unless it's been specifically directed by the board to be presented to the Planning Commission. So we can't hear anything if it was directed just to be for the Board of Commissioners. So you can go to the Board of Commissioners and hear it there, or you can watch it on Zoom, or on YouTube, but we won't hear it here. No, we're done. Thank you very much, and if there are any other questions, you can talk to staff.
Madam Chair, did you want to say anything about our special meeting coming up in 2 weeks?
I could. Thank you for the reminder. We do have another Planning Commission meeting coming up on the 24th, and that will be a special presentation on the Transfer Development Rights Survey and study that was put forward by Tom Delaire, our Community Development Director. And that will be here, 1 o'clock on the 24th. Thank you all. This meeting